This is courtesy of the Berghain community subreddit, and it's a pretty bleak topic, unfortunately, we have to discuss. This is a topic that was posted a couple of days ago on the Berghain community subreddit, the best subreddit out there. So if you want all your Berghain fucking related news and updates and all that malarkey, you know where to go. And the title is R Pe At Berghain. Happened last Sunday, the 2nd of the 3rd of March, early morning at Panel Bar Toilets, so at the beginning of the club nut. The perpetrator is a guy with a big Berghain tattoo on his neck, right above his Adam's apple. He said he's from Italy, living in Manchester, and on the guest list of Lakuti. I don't know if that's true. If you have heard of, seen of something, please let me know. The police LK14 is involved. Update. Thanks to the community, his Instagram name and phone number is known. He was seen flying to Manchester on Tuesday. 3 other people have also told me that the guy has been harassing or even assaulting them. My question, does anyone know his full name? Did anyone see or hear anything about the fight in the panel toilet early Sunday morning? The police need witnesses. If you have experienced an assault yourself, please go to the police. They are trustworthy and do a good job. Now, this is pretty wild because, as you guys know, I have a special place in my heart for Berghain. I fucking love that place. I'm weirdly obsessed with that place. I'm sure some of you guys out there are the same. And I have to be honest, the first thing I thought of when I saw this was, I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often. I'm not going to lie. Considering the times I've gone there, considering how loosey-goosey people get, considering how crazy people get in there, I'm surprised this doesn't happen more often in there. It probably says a lot about the community. It says a lot also about the people that go there, let's be honest too. That by and large, no matter how many hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people that pass through those doors every single weekend they're open, from Saturday to Monday, that this doesn't happen more often, it's a testament to how they are able to read people at the door. They're able to sift out all the wankers when they're in there and chuck them out. And just the selection, you know, I guess the filter that happens because they have such a strict door policy in the first place. It is commendable. It really is commendable, and they deserve props for it. But as relating to this topic, it's really heartbreaking to hear. Incredibly heartbreaking, because I've seen instances in there which have been unfortunate where people have kind of got a little bit too smashed. From what I've seen anyway, sometimes the assistance and help from the people that work in Berghain isn't the greatest. I've seen people just get chucked out if they're too fucked up and shit. You know, there's not a lot of like, I guess it's hard for them to actually care and figure out what they can do for people. But they usually just chuck you out and point you the direction towards, I think there's an ambulance around a corner or some sort of tent about, you know, harm reduction or something. I don't know. And that's what they usually do. I remember one time I was with this girl and she was getting really, well no, when I bumped into her, she was already kind of fucked up, and she wasn't not getting fucked up. She might have been fucked up on GHB or something. And I was trying to help her find her friends. And eventually a security guard found her and kind of dragged her away from me and just basically chucked her outside, and I had to keep running after them with her bag in my hand and hand it to her on the outside. And then they're like looking at me like I did something, and I had to kind of explain, no, I was just in there, she fell on top of me, and I just kind of was trying to help her find her friends. But I quickly realized that she was off her head and she just got left to go outside on her own. And God bless that lady. I don't know what happened to her in the end, but you know, she was very skimpily dressed young lady on her own, you know, early morning, and she just got left outside with no friends, no phone with charge and shit. Hopefully she figured it out, but you know, like, people go in there and they're a little bit too loosey-goosey. But in this regard, no matter how loosey-goosey the person is, this is obviously horrible. Can't imagine how distressing this must have been for the person to go to a place like Berghain, which is essentially like an adult playground and adult, you know, funfair circus vibes, and then to be encountered with such a horrible incident. Cannot understand how troubling or hurtful that must be for the person. So definitely thoughts and feelings go out with them. And I'm glad, obviously, the update is that the person has been somewhat identified, which is going to make it easier to persecute them, you'd imagine, or something along those kind of lines. And you also have to say, thoughts and feelings go out to Lakuti, the DJ, because imagine what she must feel like. Somebody that you put on your guest list ends up doing something to somebody like that. That's going to make you not trust people anymore. You're going to be so untrusting of humans in general. You're going to lose your faith in humanity, in society at large, if somebody that you are friendly with on Instagram and put on a G list ended up raping somebody. Absolutely crazy. But considering the amount of people who are talking about it on the Berghain subreddit, considering the amount of upvotes, considering the amount of comments, I'm sure eventually the person will be identified and charged and shit, and it will all be sorted. I'm sure of it. There's no doubt in my mind that that person's definitely going to get found, and they're not going to get away with it. But God almighty, man, what a crazy situation all in all. Really heartbreaking news. And then of course Lakuti also commented on it, because I guess it was brought up to attention. And Lakuti did something that I don't think was too smart. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not too sure how in trouble she may get for this, no? In terms of defamation, libel, whatever. I don't know. This might have not been the best tactic to go with, but I understand the frustration and the anger and the confusion and the hurt and the betrayal she must feel from the person. But Lakuti responded to this allegation on Instagram and posted a picture of the alleged person. I don't think the person is on the right, because I think that's Julian Alvarez. I think so. The former Man City and now Atletico Madrid player. I think that's him on the right hand side. And on the left hand side is the person who everybody is suggesting may have committed the act because of the very distinctive Berghain tattoo on their neck, which is absolutely crazy, by the way. To get a Berghain tattoo logo on your neck is fucking insane. It probably should be the first sign that you're a fucking psycho, and you probably shouldn't be allowed in the club just based off that anyway. But let's read the caption courtesy of Lakuti, one of the Berghain and Panama DJs. She says as much. She says here, "It's been brought to my attention that this character assaulted somebody in the club last week and mentioned knowing me. I have no association with this individual whatsoever. This individual heard Tamasoma and Lakuti, Tamasoma I guess is Lakuti's, I think, wife or girlfriend, I don't know who they are. I play a queer festival a few years back in Manchester. He followed me on Instagram and would write me politely about music. I do answer to people, and I have never believed in any hierarchies or have ever put myself above others. Now it turns out this individual has gone on to sexually assault somebody. This is now a police matter. I am heartbroken for the victim, and this adds more things to be jaded about in this world. I will not be so easily trusting and will no longer be answering to strangers on my social media. If you are witnessing, please reach out to the Berlin police, LK14. Do you know this individual on the left? It is brought to my attention that the other person on the right is a footballer. Once again, I'm talking about the individual on the left." You know what's funny about this? You know what's funny? And this is just a random anecdote. You know what's funny about this? I just remember this right now. One of my other really bad, I don't say bad interactions. One of my other not so good interactions, actually, funny enough, was in Lakuti. You know, I think I was standing again. I don't know how I come across. Maybe it's the way I come across. I was standing in the panel bar next to the doors, like, you know, that in one of those pillars, skanking, doing my thing. And Lakuti came in, I think with Tamasoma, I think so, or maybe somebody else, about to go and play. And as they were coming in, they were getting highs and greetings from everybody, right? So I thought I could just hi and greet them too. So I said, "Hey Lakuti, big fan, da da da." And I didn't get the most friendliest of hellos back, I'm not gonna lie. It was a little bit like, do you know what I mean? Instantly, when I was in line of sight. Everybody else got like a nice hi and a little cheery wave. When I said something, immediately her face kind of like changed a little bit. So it's funny that people like this sometimes are very trusting of the Mundeles, right? They're very trusting of the fucking Caucasians. But when sometimes you come across other Negros, you know, it can get a little bit weird in there. And I'm sure people that have been to Berghain, been to Panama know what I'm talking about. You know, I go out of my way, to be honest, to always salute when I see another black individual in there, because it's so rare. And when you do, you know, it's kind of nice just to say hi, what's up and shit. Sometimes it's not received the greatest because, you know, we're not the monolith, and some people just think, why the fuck you say hello to me? Go fuck yourself, I don't know you. But most of the time people are quite cool about it. Or there's that sometimes, you know, there's that Berghain attitude, no, Berlin attitude actually with black people, where they're like, oh, I want to be the only cool black person here. Do you know what I mean? Like, because they're like the one cool black person in their group, and they see you and they don't want you to take over their spot of being the cool black person in their group. So they can get a bit weird. So that's just an anecdote. It doesn't mean anything, you know, it doesn't mean that she deserved this to happen to her. It doesn't mean that it's okay what happened, none of this. But it's just funny. It's just funny that I got a very frustrating reaction. I'm not too sure if it was because the way my pupils were dilated, the way my jaw was swinging, maybe I was sweating too much, maybe I came too close in contact. I don't know. I could have done something too. It could have been all in my head. Who knows? But I do distinctly remember her not being the most warmest, let's say. But here she is, you know, politicking and he-keying and he-heeing with some random dude on IG who eventually ends up going to fucking grape somebody in the fucking panel toilets. Wild, isn't it? Absolutely wild. But regardless, I think it also goes to show, like, just in general, just how weird, like, it is for DJs in general, isn't it? Like, that level of celebrity. Because it's not a celebrity where, like, you're, like, super famous or you're getting stopped in the street. But it's still a celebrity where, like, randoms are reaching out to you, wanting to, like, be your friend. And you probably shouldn't, you know, especially if you're a woman, you probably shouldn't be that trusting to anybody. Especially if you're a DJ playing at Berghain. Like, I don't know, there should be, like, maybe other nights. Maybe if you're playing in, like, smaller sort of regions, right? Or less popular regions, less touristy regions. Maybe offering up your guest list is a good idea. But I don't think it's the best idea if you're playing at that sort of level to be just giving your guest list spots out to, like, randoms in the DMs, because you don't know these people. Like, you don't know what they're up to, You don't know who they are, what they're gonna like. You have no idea. And I think a G list is like a vouching, isn't it? Like you're almost vouching for people with a G list. I think so. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm not the person to say it, but I think you're vouching for somebody with a G list. It's almost like recommending someone for a job. You're vouching for them. You're like saying, yeah, you know, like this is somebody that I respect, somebody I rate, somebody I trust, and that person is then, you know, taking your word for it. But if that person fucks up, then it looks badly on you. You know, it comes back on you. So, you know, that's how it should be, really. But I guess maybe some DJs feel lonely. Maybe that's part of it. As a job, maybe it is kind of isolating because you're gigging all around the world. You're traveling at very unsociable hours, right? Most DJs play between like Thursday and Sunday in Europe, around the world. You probably don't see your friends Monday to Wednesday because they're working 9 to 5, and you might be record shopping or coming down. So it's a bit maddening. So maybe that's why DJs are so open to like talking to strangers. But I think as a woman, you probably should be a little bit wary of like just, you know, becoming friends with strangers on the DMs. And just in general, you probably shouldn't be so trusting to giving random people spots on your G list. You don't know them. It doesn't make any sense, really, you know? It doesn't really make any sense. Very heartbreaking news, very troubling news, all in all. But I also think there needs to be I think, an honest conversation, a grown-up conversation, which, you know, I don't know who's going to have it because I don't, you know, it's not my place to put those conversations out there. But I think there needs to be a grown-up conversation around like consent and around personal responsibility and shit when it comes to clubbing. Because I think sometimes people go out and they're so naive, they're so fucking oblivious to what's going on in and around them. They're not very street smart. And I think a lot of these things can be avoided if there's some level of like accountability, responsibility, and just, you know, whatever else when it comes to going outside. Because I feel like nightlife in general is inherently dangerous. Like it really is. I've never understood this whole like safe space nonsense. Like maybe putting on a party for a certain community of people that you represent who are underrepresented, who maybe get objectified, who maybe get assaulted and harassing clubs is a good idea because there's safety in numbers. But I don't think there's ever going to be a safe space at nightlife. It doesn't exist. It's a fucking myth. A safe space, you know, you're not even safe in your own home, you know? Like someone could break in and fucking do a madness as well. So to expect that you're safe in a nightclub with everybody off their heads and shit at night in dark places is fucking insane. So I would like to see way more responsibility in that regard, because I feel like a lot of these instances, especially when I hear of instances of like spiking and stuff, it's like, bro, like, what are you doing with your drinks? You just like, you know, you go to Berghain, and I don't know if it's the same, but I think in the front of Pano Bar of the DJ booth, there's like a little like silver thing, and people just leave their drinks there. They're dancing, they'll turn their back to the DJ, people just leave their drinks on the side there, unattended, open. They didn't want to put whatever nonsense they want inside it. It's just like, come on, man, like, you gotta like be on it a little bit. You know what I mean? You gotta give yourself a little bit more of a chance in these situations. But it is obviously horrible no matter what happened. It is fucking disgusting, and hopefully that person gets, you know, the full force of the law is going to come down on them in some respects. But I am hoping that this could be an eye-opener, a wake-up call for some people to, you know, to be a bit more responsible when they go out and kind of make sure that they're not in a position, or they don't put themselves in a position that some person with evil intent could take advantage of them. Because sometimes evil people, you know, there's no avoiding them. But if there is an opportunity where you can avoid putting yourself in harm's way, why not? And I think in general, when it comes to DJs, motherfuckers, you niggas need to be way less trusting, man. Just putting random people, like, I'm like, maybe because I don't do that. Like, I don't go around asking random people for G list, like, you know, unless I know them, and even then, you know, I don't really care that much ever, because I'm not really bothered about going to green rooms and stuff. Like, if anything, if there was a way to like get like a queue jump in places like Berghain, I'd take that over a fucking G list. You know what I mean? Just give me a queue jump so I can guarantee that when I walk up, I can just go straight in and pay for my ticket. Because I've seen some people do that, by the way. I don't know who they are. Big up those people. I don't know what level of Berghain attendance that is, but I've seen some people go Berghain and they just walk straight to the front of the door, say hi to the security, say hi to Mishka, say hi to fucking Sven, and then they go in. I don't know what level that is. That's a fucking sick. That's a level I want to get to. Allow the fucking G listing and sucking somebody off and begging and, you know, sending sending fucking flame emojis in the stories for every fucking story they put out there, hoping that they can fucking double tap your one. No. And yeah, like I said, DJs need to be less trusting because you don't know these people. Yes, we're all in a little community, a subculture without the same thing, but you know, you don't know these motherfuckers. Like, you don't know them. At least maybe, I don't know. at least if somebody asks you to put on your G list, maybe have like a process where, like, you know, hey, I'm playing, if you see me, say hi, you know? So you can maybe say hi and you can suss their vibe from just looking at them. You know, you can kind of get a kind of an idea of somebody based on just a first impression. Maybe that's the best way to go about it. Like, if you see me, just say hi, sort of thing. But just giving some random person in the DMs a G list that you don't know. Oof. I can't imagine how fucking guilty Lakuti. It's not her fault. It's, you know, it's definitely not her fault. This guy's a fucking piece of shit, and he's probably ruined it for everybody who's been out there in DMs secretly DMing DJs to get on G list. But God Almighty, man, like, you have to be a little bit precautious with these sort of things. But yeah, thoughts and feelings and strength and prayers go out to the victim of this rape in Berghain, and hopefully the guy who is you know, guilty of this gets convicted. I still don't think this is the smartest thing to do if you're Lakuti, posting a picture of this guy on your Instagram talking about he raped something. Like, I don't know about that. It's a bit mad, but hopefully it works out and the person that is responsible gets the full force of the law on them. The full force of the law on them.